Hello, Stats fans, and welcome to issue 11 of Go Figure. That puts us 8 clear of The Godfather in the table of most episodes by a leading movie franchise. Best of luck catching up with that, Mr. Coppola. I'm Andy Zalzman in London, a city that's been full of numbers ever since the Romans came over here and started counting stuff. And joining me from Bangalore, it's the Frank Sinatra of frankly sensational statistics, ESPNcricinfo's nabob of numbers, S. Rajesh.
Hi Andy, good to be on show number 11.
Well, show number 11, and 11 is the number on this show, of course. Famously, the number of players in a cricket team hasn't always seemed like that. Certainly during the Lord's Test, Australia seemed to be, 3 or 4 down on the traditional 11 at times. So what can you tell us about the number 11?
Well, I think it's an apt number for this episode. It's all been about number 11s in the Ashes, at least from Australia's point of view. And a little before that, we had Chris Martin retiring, the ultimate number 11. So what other number but 11 for this week?
It has been a phenomenal Ashes for number 11s. Already the 4th highest aggregate by number 11 batsman in any Test series after only 2 matches, 178 runs scored by the number 11s of both teams in just 7 innings, just 3 series ahead of it now, all of which were played before the First World War, and leading the way, the unforgettable 1894-95 Ashes, in which number 11s scored 196 runs in 16 innings.
Yes, so that leaves, they're 18 runs short of equaling it?
Yep.
And we have 3 tests to go, so if England bat once and Australia bat twice in each of those tests, number 11s we should still get about 9 innings by number 11s to get 19 runs. Work out the averages.
So it's looking good for a world record. And for Australia, they're pretty much at the clutching at straws phase already after just 2 tests. Their number 11s have scored 149 runs in the series. They need just 1 more to equal and 2 more to overtake the record by a team's number 11s in a series by their baggy green counterparts in that 1894-95 Ashes.
Yeah, I guess that's one record they'll get to, definitely, whatever be the case.
Yeah, you've got to take the positives. That's what they always say in sport days, you have to take the positives.
They only need to worry about the first 10 batsmen.
That's just a technicality. Let's not be constrained by cricketing tradition that your first 10 batsmen should be better than your number 11. Of course, it all started with Ashton Agar's phenomenal 98 that smashed almost every number 11 record that you can shake a stick at, including he became the 11th number 11 to score more than 50 in a Test innings. 3 11s have scored exactly 50. And hang on to your underpants, coincidence. He also became the 11th man to break the record highest Test score by a number 11, since James Southerton became the first 11 to score a run in the first ever Test in 1877. His 6-run record lasted precisely 2 days before Australia's John Hodges smashed it to pieces by scoring 8.
Hats off to Agar. And just to put those number 11 numbers into perspective, there have been 727 batsmen who batted at number 11 at least once, scored 24,170 runs at an average of about 8.5. And as a percentage of the total runs scored by all batsmen in Test cricket, that comes to about 1.25%. So number 11s have, over all matches, scored a humble 1.25% of the total runs scored off the bat in all tests. In this Ashes, of course, it's gone up a little more than that. It's about 17% for Australia's number 11s. That's 149 out of 885 runs. So they've got a little more than that 1.25%. But if we look historically at some of the great number 11s, we'll have to start with Chris Martin, though he hasn't scored the most runs at number 11, nor has he played the most number of innings. But he's one of 3 batsmen who's played 100 or more innings at number 11. So that clearly takes some doing, because to stay at number 11, you need to be at a certain level. The moment you bat like Agar did, you get pushed up the order. So it's a skill to bat so many innings at number 11, and Martin has done that. 100 innings and 50 not outs. So I don't think as a number 11 batsman you can get any more perfect than that. I think that's when decided that's it. I'm not going to play any more Test matches. 100 innings and 50 not outs at number 11 it's going to be, and that will be his record and his record alone. In all the matches that that Mr. Martin played, he scored exactly 0.375% of New Zealand's bat runs.
It all adds up. It all adds up.
Absolutely. So we have 17% for Australia in this Ashes, 1.25% for all number 11s, and 0.375% for Mr. Chris Martin.
Heroic effort by Martin. It takes 15 years of dedication to not getting any better at batting. And that takes determination, and it takes quite a lot of skill, I think, as well, to have played so long and not got any better. It's truly remarkable. Let's not leave England's number 11s out of the celebrations for this heroic number 11 performances in this Ashes. Graham Swan's 28 not out at Lords was the highest score by a number 11 in an Ashes test at Lords, and also the joint highest ever by an England number 11 in any test match at Lords, and also the highest by an England spinner batting at 11 since Pat Pocock hit 33 in Pakistan 40 years ago. And wait for it, it was the 11th highest score by an English 11 in Ashes history.
But that's the part. I'm sure Swan won't be batting at 11 too long. he anyway bats higher than that. And it was what? It was a night watchman coming in who pushed him down to 11?
Yes.
Yeah, because you need skills to be batting so long at number 11. Like Murli has done, he's got 623 runs at 11, the most runs by a number 11 batsman. It's a skill. Even when he gets 15 to 20 runs, he still gets it slogging merrily. So you think that he's not going to get any runs next time. You still slot him at 11 and he gets more runs. In fact, he's averaged about 11.5 or 12 at number 11, which is not a bad average for a number 11 batsman.
Yeah.
So one of only two batsmen to score more than 600 runs at number 11.
Did you know, Rajesh, and viewers or listeners, did you know that number 11s have now been out for 11 on 11 occasions in the history of England v Australia tests? You didn't? Well, you do now. You will probably forget it in around about, 11 seconds, but that's not the point. And the last three of those 11s were all scored by Bob Willis, England's record run-scoring test number 11, whose surname looks like it has the number 11 in it. There are some coincidences that just truly defy belief.
And coming to India's number 11, Mr. Zahir Khan, there are just some batsmen you don't know where to slot. Because when he did bat at number 11, he averaged about 17.5. When he got pushed up the order, his average fell down to number 11. So those are the kind of batsmen who are pretty exasperating for the captain. Where do you slot them? If you slot them at number 11, they punch higher than their weights. If you push them higher, they come back to number 11. In fact, he averaged exactly 11 when he was not batting at number 11.
Well, now here's a stat for you, Rajesh. I'm going to lay this down. This is a good stat. 11, of course, famously, is made up of the two numbers 1 and 1, which were the two scores that Phil made at Lords, making him the 11th man to be out for 1 in both innings of a Lords test. Mama, take me home. And it was also the 11th test match in which an Australian has bagged a pair of 1s. Ironically, Hughes did not face either of England's opening attack of Broad and Anderson in either of his two brief innings, and they both have 11 ducks in their test career, and Broad also has 11 scores of over 50. What a number!
Okay, Andy, let's move away from the number 11s to the number 11. 11 was also West Indies' winning streak of test matches in the 80s in 1984, and they won 11 on the trot. Only Australia have won more tests on the trot. They have done 16 twice, though if you tell them now, they'll wonder how they ever did it. But when West Indies were going strong in the 80s, they won 11, and they had a pretty settled lineup in those days. Greenwich, Haynes, Richardson, Richards, Lloyd, Gomes, Dujon, their top 7 was pretty much settled. But among those top 7, do you know which batsman averaged the most in those 11 tests and which batsman averaged the least? Let's start with the highest.
The highest? Well, I'd go Larry Gomes for the highest. I remember the 84 series in England. I'm getting terrible flashbacks. It's like my own personal cricketing Vietnam. I remember him doing very well in that. I'm going to guess Larry Gomes for the highest, and the lowest, I would guess Dujon.
I'll give you 50%. Larry Gomes is absolutely correct. He averaged 91, which is far and away the best among those batsmen. But the lowest was not Dujon. It was Sir Viv Richards, who averaged 38 in those matches. So that was quite a surprise to me as well. Among the bowlers, it was a giveaway. Marshall 66 wickets at an average of 16 and a half. But among the batsmen, it was quite a surprise that Gomes, people who'd followed cricket in the 80s would know. But Richards being the lowest of those 7 was quite a surprise to me as well.
11 is also the number of different positions batted by Wilfred Rhodes in tests for England. He batted in all 11 places over the 31 years of his test career. Batted 10 and 11 in his first 2 series, was England's first choice opening partner for Hobbs either side of World War I, and ended up back at number 10, and his last ever test innings in 1930, 11 not out. The man clearly had a view for statistical history. 11 is also, coincidentally, the number of reviews that Australia would like to be allowed per innings under the DRS system. 9 for Shane Watson, 2 for everyone else. That should just about level it up. Quick tip, Shane, if it does hit your pad, it is probably right in front of the stumps. I'm going to go on a bit of an 11-based rant here, Rajesh. 11 is the number of test scores between 50 and 99 scored by South Africa's Ashwell Prince. But, broadcasters, that does not mean that if he ever scores another Test 50, it will be his 12th Test 50, because he's also scored 11 Test 100s. So it will be his 23rd score of 50 or more. Just say that. The broadcasters would have you believe that Alistair Cook, in the first test, scored his 30th Test 50 for the 7th time in his career, because his last 6 50s he turned into century. It's not right. Otherwise, next time Don Bradman is recalled and scores a Test half century, he's going to flash up on the TV that it's his 14th Test 50, and you're going to think, oh, well, he can't be very good. That puts him level with Imran Farhat, who's only played 40 tests, to Bradman's now 53. It has to stop. It's completely meaningless. Britain has just brought a royal baby into life to save this planet, and he's going to have to deal with this statistical nonsense. Sort it out, please.
And yeah, when you're talking of Prince and Levin, do you know how many times Shane Warne got him out? Exactly 11 times in tests.
There you go. And Shane Warne is the joint holder of the record most number of dismissals for 11 in tests. He was out 8 times for 11, level with Ricky Ponting.
There, he loved the number 11 as well, as do all of us. Particularly Dennis Amiss, again another batsman who had 11 centuries and 11 half centuries, which means 22 scores of 50 or more. Against all teams other than Australia, he averaged 57 from 39 tests and scored all of his 1100s against them. Against Australia, however, he averaged 15.25 from 11 tests again. So if you look at the contrasting stats for Amiss among England batsmen who scored at least 3,000 runs against all teams other than Australia, Amiss's average is second, next only to Ollie Hammond's. It's better than Hutton, Barrington, all the rest. But against Australia, among England's top 6 batsmen who batted at least 15 times against Australia, his average is the poorest of all of them, and there were 82 batsmen in the list. So there you have Jekyll and Hyde for Dennis Amiss.
Good stat. Now, I think we should probably wrap up the number 11, let it go back to its peaceful habitation, wherever numbers live. But let's go back to Murali. Not only was the highest number of runs scored by number 11 in both tests and ODIs, and as you say, a test batting average of 11, but he's also scored 11 ODI ducks batting at 11 and took 11 wickets in test, a record 7 times. So the number 11 clearly cut deep into his cricketing heart. Any final 11s for us, Rajesh?
Well, the only bowler to take 11 for 111 in a test match was Saeed Ajmal in a place called Providence. So I think we should leave it at that.
Well, I think we've probably juiced the number 11 for all it is worth. We'll be back next time with more numbers to figure out. From me and Rajesh, goodbye.
Goodbye from episode 11.